Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's for
Amy.
Riley.
Amy, it's a special episode today.
Very special episode.
It's probably June 16th or somewhere around there.
Something
Ju-
like that.
June something. And the reason why, do you want to tell everybody why we have a special episode of Turtle Time today?
I'll be abroad, so we had to plan ahead.
Yeah. So right now, if everybody is listening to this at June 19th, imagine you, Amy, you'll be out in Europe
Yeah.
running around that, what do you call that? The full Europe, the full,
The full Europe.
what are they? That's not,
I'll be in Barcelona.
oh my God. On this day, most likely?
Yeah, if we hold to these dates.
That is amazing. And you said you've been to Barcelona before, right?
I have.
Wow.
Only for, I think, a few days when I was in my teens.
Oh, so
Yeah.
do you feel like you knew it pretty well, or are you gonna be kind of surprised?
No, I don't really remember it at all. I think I blocked it out. I was with my family.
Really? Did so it was not the best.
I just don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know what
Well,
happened.
So this will be. I mean, so this is kind of like, I mean, almost your first time. You'll be experiencing as an adult, no parents.
Yeah.
That's great.
Freewheeling.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, I think that it makes sense why. Oh, I'm gonna say, I guess, what the special episode is. People probably saw the title.
Oh, right.
And they probably are like, whoa, what the hell is this? And you and I decided as evergreen content that we wanted to take a look at sort of not the Bravo vault, but
Yeah.
something that you've never seen before in your life, and I've only seen once, and that is Jax and Brittany Take Kentucky.
Yeah. I remember at the time that it aired, I was like really not in the market for additional Jax content, which sounds crazy because
Yeah.
now I'm like, I would take that all day.
Starved for it?
I
Yeah.
didn't know what I had, I guess.
Right.
So I feel like I tried to watch it and I was like, I'm good. But I had a good time watching it and I would recommend it. They're only 20 minutes.
Yeah. We watched it together, you and I,
In one sitting.
just in one sitting.
6 episodes times 20 minutes. It's like the length of a regular movie.
Yeah, and if you skip the recap and the intro or whatever, you shave like 10 minutes off of it. It's like an hour and 10-minute thing to watch.
Yeah.
And I think it's as good as Vanderpump Rules in its prime.
Yeah, by the end it gets pretty juicy and messy. Like there are parts of it that are kind of like the Simple Life-esque where it's like make Jax clean a chicken coop, which are like whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it, but the disappointing part is that there are multiple instances where they go out drinking after they wrap and shit goes down
Yes.
and they don't have footage.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell Evolution Media was doing when they were out in Kentucky rapping at 11 p.m. at night or something, but there's two huge instances where Jax and Brittany got in major fights. Either Jax got in fights with other bar goers in Kentucky, or Jax and Brittany had a huge blowout fight in front of all of her friends for the final 2 episodes, and they don't have it on camera.
Right.
It's like, what a missed opportunity. What the hell were you thinking?
I know. It's like that's what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, they do a good job of definitely theater of the mind. They tell you what happened, but I don't know how they missed out on those, 2 things, because that's like the most explosive stuff that they would have gotten on camera had they filmed it.
I know. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it was fun. So we were trying to figure out the timeline because for context, we didn't try that hard to figure it out. But
We did some math. We
Yeah.
said this aired in 2017, in August of 2017. Vanderpump Rules Season 5 had just finished airing April 2017. So this was filmed maybe just pre-Season 5 and scheduled to release around then.
Right.
So this was before the Faith era. So that Brittany and Jax weren't doing so bad that they were like trying to get over Jax cheating.
right.
But it was after. It's like when, I guess, Jax and Brittany's relationship is starting to lose a little bit of its luster because Jax is complaining that Brittany doesn't have her spark.
Yeah.
But he still wants to make sure that she's fully sparked out before he proposes to her.
Right. Yeah, marriage comes up a lot because her family is traditional. That's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching this far back, I mean, the drinking stuff, it doesn't really come up that like Brittany's drinking is a problem. If anything, it's like Jax's drinking is a problem at this time. Like
Yeah.
where he gets really fucked up and says crazy shit and almost gets in fights and like they have blowout fights because of it. But it's clear that drinking is a big part of their relationship and
Yeah.
like social life.
Yeah. I think that the both times that Jax got drunk, which we'll get into, I think that there might have been merit to why he was so pissed off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought a little bit so. I wanted to ask you before we get into it. So overall, you said you liked it.
Yeah, it was fun. It's just an easy watch, and then there are moments of pure delight.
Yeah, and it's so, for me, it's like they did try that simple life premise. Like, wouldn't it be funny to watch Jax scrape off cow dung from in a yard, or like all that, like that kind of stuff is kind of like stupid to me. Like
Yeah.
that premise is stupid.
Right.
But
I
just
think
Jax
that's what
in
I
Kentucky-
thought it was.
Jax
Yeah.
in Kentucky
Yeah.
is inherently entertaining because almost everything Jax does is entertaining
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
So you put him in that environment for 2 weeks when he's around Brittany's family. Everyone is asking him about their relationship. People are starting to, like, he feels disrespected ultimately. And if you just have a camera on Jax and Brittany for 2 weeks, they're going to get in a blowout fight because they
Yeah.
fight all the time.
He's like losing his mind by the end. He's clawing his way out of there.
Like, he really has to leave Kentucky by the end of it. But he was a good sport for the most part
Yeah.
until he like got completely fed
yeah.
up.
It's just funny. It's not like they were there for 6 weeks. They were there for 2.
2 weeks. So what is, I was going to ask you before we get into it, what does, I know it's like common, but what does take Kentucky mean?
Right. Like, take it on.
Yeah, but what is that? What did that, what
Where's
is,
the origin of that?
yeah, like what movie says
Yeah.
take, like,
Muppets Take Manhattan.
yeah, Muppets take Manhattan? Like, where did that, I mean, I know we don't have to like spend too much time, but take on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so this is a play on Muppets Take Manhattan. Is that the first
That's
thing?
the
it's-
only other title like
Well,
that.
Well, do you know any other? instance
I'm
of
sure
a-
we're not thinking. If I thought of Muppets Take Manhattan that quickly, there's got to be.
Blank take blank.
Yeah,
Two people or Muppets are in a different place. They
Yeah.
take it over.
yeah.
Amy and Riley take. You're gonna takes.
Amy Take Barcelona.
Anyway, I didn't know what that's a reference to besides Muppets Take Manhattan or what movie that
Yeah.
references, but
If you guys know more, please comment.
But Jax and Brittany are taking on Kentucky. I guess Alex Baskin, when he was seeing Jax and Brittany's relationship unfold on season 4, he was like, "This is gold. We keep hearing about Brittany's family. Jax with Mama is just too enticing. We
Yeah.
have to give you a spinoff." And I wanted to ask your opinion on what you think it was like for the Vanderpump Rules cast to know, because I know that when like Lisa Vanderpump got a spinoff, it was like a huge deal. Like
Right.
it made her the envy of the Beverly Hills cast almost
Right.
instantly. Like she had a target on her back. I wonder how like Katie, Ariana,
Stassi.
Sandoval,
Yeah.
like they must have been like, damn, the first person to get a spinoff is
Right.
Jax and his new girlfriend Brittany immediately.
Yeah, I feel like especially Stassi because she had just crawled her way back at this time.
Yeah.
So she's like, I barely have my ass back on this show. And like, she probably would have been the one to get a spinoff if all things went
Yes.
correctly.
For sure.
And-
Stassi, we already talked about
yeah.
Stassi Take Manhattan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Um,
Would have watched 1,000,000%.
Of course, yeah.
Would have been so good.
so
Um,
I like thinking about that just with the now our like Bravo context of what it really means when a cast member gets a spinoff. Like I wonder how much resentment and jealousy there was. I mean, I'm sure a lot of like Schwartz is the only one who puts his face on this
Yeah.
spinoff.
There's a FaceTime call.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, like Sandoval was probably aggrieved
Yeah.
by this.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like the closest thing, I mean, I feel like the Schwartz and Katie wedding is the closest thing that you could get as far as like multi-episode focus.
Yeah, like they got 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But then Jax and Brittany do 2, like
Right.
within the confines of Vanderpump Rules. But this is like, this would now be a Peacock, like this, you were saying Crappy Lake. Like,
Right.
this would just be a Peacock exclusive now,
Right.
where Jax and Brittany got a 6-episode spinoff.
Right. I know, because we were talking about watching like some of the wedding specials and stuff. And in my memory, I didn't really think about it too much, but I remembered them being like a special. But all of the ones we saw, like Nini's, I think Tamara's, like they were like
Yeah.
a whole season.
It's like 8 episodes or
Yeah.
10 episodes.
Which is, I guess, what Bethany's was originally. And then
Yeah.
it turned into a real show.
They just love, I mean, they're like milking the shit out of it.
Yeah. Which I get. But yeah, so I don't know. I was until the end, like until there were those like flare-ups where they really shit went down, I was thinking that their dynamic was going to be like truly horrifying throughout. And it was kind of just like, you know,
Jax and
Jax
Brittany.
and Brittany. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. It's this to me. These are fights that if you would have filmed them 2 weeks before their trip to Kentucky, we would have seen a blowout like that, like in
Right.
their apartment. Like I think that this is just emblematic of their relationship at this point, and
Yeah.
it just happened to unfortunately bubble up when Brittany's in front of all of her family and has to explain it to
Right.
Grandma what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. But for me, because I'm like I'm like Jax is back in like our lives now, and I was so bummed out when Jax got fired from Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
But then I feel like out of sight, out of mind for sure, and I was just kind of like, when Jax was on House of Villains, I'm like, okay, you're gone now from my life, and then now seeing him back on the Valley, and then watching this.
Right.
Just like, God damn. Like, Jax is one of the most entertaining people I've ever seen in my life. The fact that he could go with Brittany, who, say what you will about Brittany, but she's not like, she's not the most engaging cast member in the Vanderpump Rules universe.
Yeah.
So Jax is holding this spinoff on his back with Mima, Dawn,
Yeah.
Sherry,
Yeah.
Brittany's family. And
Yeah.
it's just Jax.
Yeah.
He's screaming, he's drinking, he's going to church for the first time in his life.
He's like a snob about their culture, even though I'm like, where are you from? Like what is your culture?
Michigan, I guess. But still, it's like, I don't know. I'm also seeing Winchester from Jax's eyes. You
Sure.
know?
Yeah, he just isn't afraid to say it or
he's
be offensive.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, he's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
He's a very, very entertaining, compelling asshole.
Yeah.
And then the times where he throws on the Jax charm, there's something just so interesting how Jax is able to have that wink and smile at you while he's saying the worst shit in the world. We're laughing as he rails against Kentucky and calling them all toothless hillbillies or white trash, and you're just like, oh my God, how is Jax still endearing after saying the most despicable shit you've ever heard in your
Yeah.
life? And I know people have no tolerance for Jax. He is
Yeah.
not. People absolutely hate watching it, but for me, I cannot personally I can separate myself from knowing
The
and
art
watching
from the
someone's-
artist.
Yes, I see a bad person there. I see some merit as a good person, but he is just entertaining as hell. He is so compelling to me. Every
Yeah.
minute you're watching him. He
Yeah.
sits in the bunk bed for 1 second, looks up at the wall while he's alone in a bunk bed after not going to Don's house to meet with the dad. And he goes, God, I wish there was a naked woman up on the wall here. It's like, damn, you just had 1 second in the room and you get that from Jax.
Yeah, he tells little kids, Brittany's nephews, they're like, what's your favorite thing about my Aunt Brittany? And he goes, her big boobs.
Had an Applebee's. Yeah. It's
He's insane.
There's something about it where I'm just like, not a lot of people, even if you went to Schwartz's hometown with Katie or something, there's not a lot of people who could pull off a 6-episode spinoff like that and make
Yeah.
it as entertaining as he did.
Yeah. Although when I feel like I keep bringing up Katie and Schwartz's wedding because it feels so close to happening in our, we're rewatching season 4 on Patreon. So this is all very relevant to us. But I would love a full potential spin-off about the triplets, the Schwartz triplets.
Oh, of what they're,
Just everything.
yeah, going through. I mean, yeah.
Because the little taste we got, like they share a cell phone, they missed their flight. Like I need to know
Well,
everything about them.
I mean, I said at one point that a amazing spinoff would be Jax bringing those triplet boys to Los Angeles and
Yeah.
dealing with them for 2 weeks
Yeah.
and try to teach them life advice and give them style
Get him a little
tips.
makeover,
Yeah,
like a
give-
Queer Eye style.
Yeah, like he kind of does that a little bit as a kind of a B plot of the wedding, but I could watch Jax interact with those triplet boys like forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and now I'm realizing that I could watch Jax, I mean, almost do anything in the world and be
Yeah.
entertained by it.
Totally. Okay, so I guess if we're going straight through, it does begin at it's a little bit like trying to spin off directly from Vanderpump Rules, which the title of this is Vanderpump Rules : Jax and Brittany Take Kentucky. So I assume that was partially because it did that thing, I assume, where it automatically records, like if you record Vanderpump, it recorded this.
Oh,
Like
really?
if
Is
you
that what they do?
DVR it.
I always just thought it's just to keep it within the umbrella, like so that we knew that this was like a spinoff. But I guess maybe you're right if they're formatting for DVR.
Because I remember that would happen sometimes where they would like, yeah, I would be like, oh, I didn't record that, and it would come up anyways. But yeah, Lisa, this is when Brittany's still working at SUR, and they're like, we leave tomorrow, and Lisa goes, you got your shifts covered.
Yeah, it was a little. This is a little silly.
I'm like, they're going for many weeks and they're leaving tomorrow, and you're an EP on
Yeah.
the show
And
that they're working
and
on.
also none of the other cast members are around them. Like they would not pay the other Vanderpump Rules cast members, or the Vanderpump Rules cast members did not want to be for 1 second on this show,
Yeah.
except for Schwartz.
I know. I wonder how much they made for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe
Like-
maybe their rate, maybe just
right.
just
Just
like-
extra
yeah, just-
filming time.
I would assume.
Right.
I wonder how Lisa and Ken felt that the first cast members on their show were Jax, with his new girlfriend Brittany going to Kentucky. I mean, I'm sure
Right.
they knew. This really just solidifies that Jax was the main character of Vanderpump Rules. I mean, Sandoval and
Right.
Stassi can say whatever the hell they want. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, Stassi, like, obviously she derailed herself, but
Yeah.
Jax is the main character of Vanderpump Rules, at least at this point.
Right.
He's the only one that could have pulled it off. Nobody would have watched Sandoval take.
St. Louis.
No one would have watched it. No offense.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of interesting? It's like Jax, in a way, he was right when he says, "This is my show." I mean, why
Right.
wouldn't he have that title? He was the first one to get a spinoff.
Right. I was watching, I think I sent it to you, but I don't even know who it was. It was a guy who I assume has a podcast or something showing West from Summer House the entire plot of Vanderpump Rules historically.
Oh, he did?
And it had all the names on a whiteboard, and he was drawing lines between to
Oh.
like explain everything that had ever happened. And by the end, he had circled Jax so many times that you couldn't even read it anymore because it like always came back to him.
Yeah.
It'd be like, and then he did this, and then he did this.
I mean, that's a good indication of Jax's prominence on the show.
And yeah, he was
and
explaining
power.
it to West and another guy who had never seen it before, and they're like, "This fucking Jax guy is wild."
Wow, did Wes like it?
He loved it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Wes should watch Vanderpump Rules.
He should at this point. Yeah.
So you're right. They kind of Lisa says she gives like her words of wisdom. I forget what it is. She says a lot of things that I think she wrote right before.
Yeah.
She-
She said Jax can stir the shit, not shovel it.
Yeah. And then she kind of gives him a little bit. She goes, "Put your best foot forward if you even have one, and go out into the world and take over Kentucky if you can." And they go, "Thank you so much, Lisa." And then they immediately pack, and within like 1 second, they're immediately in Kentucky.
Yeah. They spend basically 1 minute setting it up. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, Brittany explains they have 400 acres.
400?
Yeah.
400 acres?
Yeah.
It's called the Turner Farm.
Yeah.
And we were saying this is a through line. So Mama has a gigantic farm, and it's Peepaw, I think is his name. Peepaw Turner was the originator of this farm. He unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago, like right around when Brittany moved to Los Angeles. And this is his farm empire
Yeah.
in Winchester. But there's a lot of work. Cows, chickens, ponies,
Yeah.
horses, but
Pigs.
but in this show, they never explain what Mama does with any of the Turner farm.
Right.
There's no output to any
Right.
of the work that they do.
Yeah, like they don't say if they're like dairy cows Or like at one point they're making breakfast and they were using Vital Farms eggs.
Farm raised.
And we're like, don't you have like 100 chickens?
Yeah. And yeah. And the first thing, my wife was saying this because I haven't been on a farm, but she's like, the first thing you get, from farm life and having chickens is you just get unlimited eggs.
Yeah,
that
you have to like give them away.
So my question is for Mama or anyone, Brittany, whoever watches this, what does the Turner farm do? And we could always look this up, but on this show, they didn't make it a focus of what is this farm yielding to the world. They're like brushing the pony's hair.
Right.
They're cleaning up the cows' shit. And they're just feeding water to chickens, but I don't know what the Turner farm like gives to the world.
Should I see if they have a website?
Yeah. And then I'll vamp for a second. Sherry lives on this farm too, because it's like 400 acres. And then Mama is delighting that Jax is going to be there because she wants to give him a lot of chores. And this is where the simple life premise, this is where Alex Baskin called Mima right before and he said, Mima, we want this to be like simple life. Make Jax shovel shit, groom the chickens, brush the horse's hair, and Mama obliged completely. So a lot of even though Jax kind of breaks this format by having all of his drama and conflict just seep out of himself to where the show can't contain that formula, Mama really tries to keep it each day. Did you find?
Yeah. Well, the first article that comes up is the Winchester Sun, and it says Brittany became a star.
Really?
From August 2017.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's about the spinoff.
Yes.
Airing.
Yeah.
So she was in the newspaper.
It's true. Yeah. It's I don't think they get into the business model of the farm.
Yeah, and we could just Amy and I could look like total rubes, city slicker rubes, not knowing like.
Right.
The Turner Farms obviously has, they yield chicken for the world, but we don't know, and they don't explain it. It just looks like you're taking care of 100 animals for no reason on that farm. And then also to keep this so we know the legacy or the family tree of Brittany, which all this stuff is new to me because I forget.
Yeah.
Dawn and Sherry divorced when Brittany was 2, and they had 2 children before Brittany, older boy, the oldest boy, and then Tiffany, an older daughter. I don't know who was older of them.
Yeah.
And then Brittany. And then unfortunately their relationship could not withstand, not in a bad way, but they just couldn't stay married anymore. And then, so Brittany really didn't know Dawn and Sherry as a couple.
Right. Yeah. Also, one of my favorite details is that her brother has a wife named Militia, which is ultimately spelled Melisha.
Yeah.
But when you hear it, it just sounds like militia, as in like, like rebel alliances.
Yeah. Like until you see it spelled, you don't know how the hell it's. Hey, speaking of farm life, I know we shouldn't comment on noises, but there's a lot of animals that are screaming and barking, and their hairs need to be brushed. So I didn't know.
But yeah, I think you should name your daughter Militia, is what I'm saying.
Oh, Militia, like just how it's spelled, Melisha.
Or maybe just do it Milti, or the other way.
So when people always try to say, "Oh, I bet I know how that's spelled," we say, "No, it's exactly what you think."
What you thought.
Mili.
Yeah.
I will. Well, can I chat with Megan about that and then get back to you?
Please.
Okay.
But yeah, it's established that Mima honors Peepaw's legacy. No alcohol on the farm.
Yes,
he hated that.
That's a through line of this. None of them drink.
Right.
Don hasn't had a beer in his life. Mama, I don't think has ever had beer or wine.
Just beer cheese.
Yeah, I mean, if you drink enough beer cheese, like how drunk is Mima possibly getting?
Yeah.
And then Sherry only drinks a bottle of, or like a glass of wine maybe once every month. That's what Brittany said. Like very, very rarely. And the reason for this is because Brittany came from a very religious family. And you and I are going to try to be very respectful to all religions, as we always are, right? But you can't not say that there is a, what's it called? There's a difference of lifestyles.
Culture shock
for someone like Jax,
Yeah.
who's coming into a family where religion dictates everything in their life. And then
Yeah.
for even you and I, who I grew up where I was raised religious and I
Yeah.
rebelled against it with all of my, with everything I could.
Yeah.
But it's still, if you haven't seen it or been raised by it, you can get in Jax's shoes a little bit and be like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, they take it to the limit with their style of church. So.
Yes, but while also being respectful, obviously. And
but yeah.
Jax is mad. Jax is like, he can't believe that he might possibly have to have a dry 2 weeks at Mama Turner's farm.
He immediately says, "No alcohol is not gonna fly."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then one thing we kept remarking on is that Brittany's dad kept comparing Jax to Tarzan, but he has a little remark here. He goes, "He looks like Tarzan, but he plays like Jane."
Yeah, he says it a lot of times. Don felt like his role in this was to make Jax do a bunch of like hunting and chopping down trees and stuff.
Right.
And he really says that a lot. That Jax's strength is like a facade, and he's
Yeah.
not really actually that strong as Don.
Yeah, I've experienced some of that city slicker discrimination.
Who? From who?
We one time went to a friend's wedding in like deep Texas, and I could just tell that they're all like these fucking assholes.
That were like commenting on you not being
Yeah,
truly
like they would
strong?
we would talk about like camping and stuff, which like we camp a lot. I'm like, California is an extremely outdoorsy state.
Yeah.
Like we do all kinds of shit out here, and they were acting like we were like, no, like you guys don't know.
Can I ask you a question? This is kind of my take the whole time. Why do we need to impress people in Kentucky and Texas? No, I'm not being elitist. I'm saying, why is the onus on people who don't chop trees for people to lord it over them that they know how to chop trees?
Yeah.
The whole pretense of this show is Jax not fitting in with the culture of Kentucky. And by the end of it, he's like, fuck you. Like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I want to get back to LA immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really like they're acting holier than thou.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I want to get the fuck out of here so bad and never be here again.
Right. I feel like it's funny because I feel like he plays both sides of the fence. Like when he's in LA, he
yes.
talks shit about how
Yeah.
like bougie and like shallow LA is.
Yeah.
But then he's a better fit to that culture.
I think he would his dream is like Miami or something,
Right.
But there's a lot of city slicker humor in
Yeah.
this. And there's also another, if we're talking about this generally, all of Brittany's family is asking, what are you doing? What are your intentions with my daughter?
Yeah.
Mama asks it. Sherry wants them to get married so bad right now. And then Dawn is the one who says, I'm not fully on board, but I still want to know that you're going to like treat my daughter right. So every single person on this trip is asking the state of their relationship over and over.
Right. Which I guess at that point, if we're not mistaken, do they get engaged in season 6 or 7?
I was thinking about that. So I know that they get married in season 8.
Yeah.
Because that's with the season with Max and Brett and everything. So
Right.
I think that they get.
I don't think they get engaged the same season as the Faith
No, it's
shit,
like-
so it has to be 7.
It's right after. It's season 7 because I know they keep saying 1 year before to show how fucked up their relationship was 1 year before when they got engaged. And season 6 is Faith. So I
Right.
think it has to be engaged 7,
Yeah.
married 8.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But one thing, just because you did touch upon it right then, it's been a year and a half.
That they've been together.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, a year
Yeah.
and a half. I
Not
mean,
that
I don't
long.
know. No one in my life ever that I've ever known would be contemplating. I mean, and I'm not shaming anyone. I'm just saying this is such a different.
Yeah.
This is like a cultural difference or
Yeah.
something. They are like making Jack seem like he is wasting Brittany's life because they've
Right.
been dating a year and a half.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, they put it on the speed rail because they moved in immediately.
Yeah, so they want to make sure that they're not like living in sin for longer. But if this was in a different area, I don't think that anyone would even, or different people or anything, it was different slightly. No one would be even asking this question after a year and a half.
Right. Yeah.
So again, I'm not going to defend Jax every single minute of this episode, but I do think that it's just like for him when he keeps saying like, "I'm sorry, we don't do things like that." Like
Yeah.
a year and a half, like that's like 6 months,
Right.
months in LA time,
Right.
in my opinion. Like I wouldn't have even,
Yeah. So they're wait, was she so he's 30, he says 37 at this point, and
Yeah.
she's how old? She's almost 30 or something?
Oh yeah, she's 20. She must be 28 or 29. Because I
Okay.
feel like there must be some leeway there. Because she says, "I want to be engaged by 30."
Okay. Cuz yeah, I don't even like think of them having that age gap
Yeah, me
today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do we need to put this? Do we need to put some? Because we might title this Jax and Brittany a retrospective, which I know we're already doing. Do we need to put any of the like current stuff in here to factor in, or should we wait till the end?
Like that they're broken up right now?
Yeah, like I think we should remark that there are things that happen in this that are almost like signifiers of what's to come, or,
Right.
or red flags
No,
in
for
their
sure.
relationship.
Yeah.
So anytime we want, we can bring in the present, which as of now, while we're recording, Jax has officially been reported as like being in a relationship with someone.
Right.
He was at a bar like 2 nights ago with someone, and then he's like out on the town with someone now. So
Yeah.
I was holding out hope that Jax would do whatever he needed to do to get back in Brittany's good graces, but this, and you were pretty staunch that this is probably not
The
going to
end.
work out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm most likely wrong.
She must have given him, because I feel like he was also kind of in denial for a long time.
Yeah.
So she must have said something, or they must have had a conversation that it was like, no, like we're fucking done.
And
yeah.
you just read something. Again, a lot of Jax and Brittany news is bubbling up. Brittany said, "I can't even stand to be in the same room
Yeah.
with Jax."
Yeah.
And also, I listened to When Reality Hits. This is all dating us, but who cares? It's like, I'm sure there's going to be shit going down in
Yeah.
3 weeks from now.
Maybe we can record an insert if they
Yeah.
file for divorce before
Yeah.
June 19th.
Yeah, we will. But then also, Brittany interviewed Schwartz, and she's on
Yeah.
her own. Like,
Yeah.
So, and they were like, "Oh, of course we're going to keep the podcast. We could put aside our differences." And
Yeah.
it's like,
She got all the tea about Joe.
yeah, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
we'll talk about that probably on our main feed.
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
but
yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, this could be, if this is a Jax and Brittany retrospective episode, we might be witnessing the end. Like
Yeah.
there might be no addendum to this. Like,
I know. It's wild.
yeah.
Speaking of current day, so they have a big bonfire, like a welcome party with all of her friends and stuff. And low key, he's kind of just in the background, but Zach Wickham is there.
Yes. So I don't know what Zach's history was. I know he is a Brittany friend forever. I don't know when Zach said, "I'm racing over to LA and I'm starting my life there."
Right.
How, like, is this before Zach moved to LA and then he came back to be a part of this show? Or was this the final straw where he saw cameras on
Yeah.
Brittany in his hometown and he was like, "I want a piece of that."
I know.
And good on him.
It's surprising that he wasn't featured, being that he ended up being on a show with them. I assumed he was going to at least have a scene. He never speaks. At least
Yeah, he's clearly background. He doesn't even have one line.
because they deal with her friends a lot. Like Jax argues with a couple of her friends. There are a few of them that reoccur throughout the 6 episodes.
Kara and Ashley.
Yeah, like they kind of, keep some of the drama alive. So he wasn't there.
They're kind of like the angel and the devil on Brittany and Jax's shoulders the entire episode. Kara is really pissed off at Jax the entire time, and Ashley's very forgiving of Jax the whole time
Right.
and like loves him.
Yeah,
But he
I
gets
mean-
in fights with both of them and all of her friends
Yeah.
multiple times
yeah.
throughout this.
He has no problem just getting enraged at her girlfriends.
Yeah, so Mima really laid the ground rules. Absolutely not a drop of alcohol can spill upon Turner family farm land.
Yeah.
And they say, Jax and Brittany both say, we agree to that.
Yeah.
But then that won't stop Brittany's friends from driving up, and with a bunch of Tito's, liquor.
Yeah.
They put it all in
I know.
Jax's.
It's not even like beers or anything. Like it's like pure, like huge handles of vodka.
Yeah. And they put it all in Jax's truck. And so Jax is trying to have, at the bonfire, he's trying to be normal and say hi to everyone. But then all the young people start going over to the truck and start chugging liquor, and then Mima starts to put her nose up in the air because she smells alcohol's in the air, and she starts walking over.
Yeah. And Jax, every time Jax drinks in this show, he's like fucked up.
Yeah, he got really, really drunk in Kentucky, probably overcompensating for the times that he couldn't drink when he
Right.
wanted to throughout the entire weeks.
Right. So yeah, he runs over to Mima and is like trying to hold it down. And this is where he reveals to her mom and her Mima that he's like, just so that you don't have to keep asking me this whole time.
Yeah.
He goes, just, so you know, I have a designer and a ring picked out. And he shows them a photo on his phone. I assume this is confirmed later, on Vanderpump Rules, but we have to assume it's Kyle Chan.
Yeah, I think I saw Kyle's finger in the photo. You can kind of see Kyle possibly holding the ring. But he also does this, like you said, he does this to shut down anyone asking about it
Yeah.
again. But he then later, he also tells everyone that they might not be on the perfect road toward marriage. So he completely sends mixed signals to all of her family by showing
Yeah.
this ring right now.
I know, he kind of pokes holes in their like romantic storyline throughout by talking shit about
Yes.
Brittany to her family. So yeah, I guess we'll just cruise through. Like all of the
Yeah.
episodes basically blend together. Like most of them pick up where they left off.
Yeah, Mima does find out that they drank a bunch of alcohol on her family farm. They blame it on their friends, which is, I mean, that's good.
Yeah,
to
I
get
mean,
out of
it reveals that they planned it that way so that they were like, we'll have other people bring the booze so that we can't be blamed. But like that's on camera, so
Yeah, I mean, Brittany knew she probably had to tell Mima before this came out.
right. But Mima does say at one point that this is the most fun she's had since her husband died, which was sweet.
Yeah, and Mima loves Jax. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, Sherry loves Jax.
Yeah.
Sherry absolutely loves Jax, but Mima treats Jax like he is like the light in her life. Like her heart is swelling every time she sees him. He puts on overalls and she's giggling. He's touching the chickens and she's laughing. Like she just loves
Yeah.
Jax this entire time. They
It's
have
cute.
like a rapport.
Yeah, it's kind of his saving grace is that
Yeah.
they get along so well.
And as bad as Jax gets this whole time, Sherry and Mama like almost go to bat for him the entire time. Like
Yeah.
he screams and gets so mad at Brittany, and they find out overhear the things he drank on the farm, all this shit, and they're smitten by him.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is. It's a key. I was like, I mean, like he could get away with so much
Yeah.
in front of them.
Brittany's dad's the only one that's like, I don't know.
Dawn does not that's a through line the entire time. Dawn is not satisfied with
Right.
Jax's level of love toward Brittany.
Yeah. So then we get a moment with Brittany's sister Tiff, who Jax for some reason decides to ask. So Tiffany has 2 sons, and Jax goes, was it hard having kids out of wedlock? Which is like, we should have had like a little like alarm go off every time he said the words wedlock or like illegitimate,
Yeah.
because he, for some reason, despite his own lifestyle, is very concerned about all of her other friends who are like either divorced or have kids without fathers. Like he's very concerned about that
Yeah.
lifestyle choice.
Yeah, like he's not religious, but he also is chastising everyone around him for having children out of wedlock.
Right.
And he says, I will only have children when I'm married, and also I'm never getting divorced in my
Yeah,
life.
he's like disgusted by divorce,
yeah,
which I mean,
And he-
today, jokes on him.
because he might possibly.
Definitely.
You think he definitely will get a
Definitely
divorce?
getting a divorce.
I gotta stop holding out hope that he'll sweep Brittany off her feet at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really the entire time he's looking at Brittany's single mom friends, he says, and he keeps saying, like, shaming them for drinking,
yeah.
having children out of wedlock. He says, I want to pass around condoms to all of them.
Yeah, he keeps saying they don't know what birth control is.
Yeah, very judgmental of Brittany's friends the entire time. And when he says that stuff about drinking, like how can moms go out to Willie's Sloppy Tavern and drink fish bowls, he's very judgmental. And
Yeah.
I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's continuous throughout the whole show that you can see that in Jax's mind, a mom,
Yeah.
if you have a child at home,
A woman's place is in the kitchen.
yeah, no,
vibes.
well, do you think it's like that? I thought it was like he can't imagine a mom going out and drinking on a night out and having fun because you have a child at home, and
Yeah.
that continues to how he looks at Brittany now
Yeah.
in contemporary days.
But that rule doesn't apply to fathers.
No, fathers get to go to Jack's Studio
It's
City,
like Mad Men
pound
rules.
a bunch.
Well, I guess everyone was fucked up on Mad Men.
Yeah, Betty.
Everybody drunk.
Betty got drunk, right?
Yeah, for sure. Right?
She was just consistently drunk the whole time. Betty.
Yeah.
What did she drink? I don't remember Betty's drink. Vodka?
I feel like she was just
They didn't drink wine.
no.
Like,
Yeah, it was like always liquor.
Don never had wine. I don't think Betty ever had wine.
I guess we have to rewatch.
Yeah.
They also reveal that when Brittany's sister got pregnant, that they immediately made Brittany go on birth control. Like her mom was like, "You're going on birth control because we're not doing this again."
Yeah, and we also find out that Brittany has idolized Tiffany all of her life. It's really, I never knew this,
Yeah.
but Tiffany's her older sister, and like Brittany did everything in her sister's footsteps. Same college,
Mm-hmm.
same sorority, would wear her shit, like had the same
Yeah.
friend group. But then the minute Tiffany got pregnant, they said, you can't follow
Not
Tiffany.
that footstep.
Right.
Yeah. Also, Brittany's example of why Jax would be a great father is because of how good he is with Kingsley.
Yeah. And then they show him looking at Kingsley in like a flashback, and Kingsley's got like a little tux on. And Jax is going, he looks so handsome in his little tux.
Yeah. This is where we get the Schwartz FaceTime, which, not much is said.
It was just very perfunctory.
Yeah.
Get another cast member in here. Schwartz is the nicest Vanderpump Rules cast member. He's the only one who will do that. And that still continues to this day. If Kyle Chan needs a guest at, what's it called? Black and Blue Whiskey? or if they need a guest on a podcast, Schwartz is always the one to do it. Like,
Yeah.
he will show up for all the other cast members no
Yeah.
matter what. And this is him doing this for their show.
Yeah. They agree on the FaceTime that they both love Applebee's, which is where the next scene is.
Yes.
Jax and Brittany take her nephews to Applebee's. This is where one of the 8-year-old says, like, "What do you like about Brittany?" And at first he jokes, "Big boobs,"
He
and
goes,
they all laugh.
Can I say your big boobs to Brittany? And she goes, no, but she's kind of laughing.
Yeah. And then he's like, "She's nice," or something like that. And then the little kid goes, "Well, I know one thing." And they're like, "What?" And he goes, "Her feet."
Yeah. And then Jax goes, how do these little boys at Applebee's know that I like to, lick on your feet? And she goes, word must get around town. But then they show the flashback where she was running outside and she had those filthy feet and he started licking them.
Yeah.
So they must all just watch Vanderpump Rules,
Yeah,
even the little
awkward.
kids.
Yeah. But this is where Jack says he's not ready for kids yet, but implies that he would be one day.
Yeah.
And so they show them eating frogs, or catching frogs rather.
Dawn decides to serve frog legs both times that Jax goes to the house. I think that is them putting on a fake. Well, I mean, maybe they eat frogs every day, but
Yeah.
there's two. Like, no one even in any house would you have the same dinner twice. But they make. I think they're trying to play up country lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't think Dawn eats
Even
frog
though,
legs every.
Jax ate it and he thought it was great. So
Yeah,
it
no.
wasn't like a moment of like gross out.
No, it was fine. But I'm just saying, I think that they were playing up on camera that they eat frogs every day.
Sure.
And then they made him catch them later.
Yeah.
And I assume you have to slam them in the head with a hammer and kill them.
They were like spearing them
They
in a
were?
pond, but Jax didn't catch any.
And then Don says another thing at some point. He goes, he looks like Tarzan, like you said, but secretly he's Jane. I was like,
Right.
what, Don? What the hell are you talking about? I really dislike Don, and I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Well, I have to give him respect as the only one who will be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
fine.
Like no one else will. Even her sister kind of like bitches out.
I don't find Don to be very endearing, despite him being a concerned dad.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, he's not entertaining. He's not fun.
He doesn't have frosty lipstick like Sherry.
He doesn't have frosty lipstick, which I love on Sherry. I just don't. I don't find Don to be appealing. And I thought this weird strength, manliness shit that he's trying to use against Jax is like really weird,
Sure.
odd to me. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Sure.
This is when, after eating a bunch of frog legs, I think this is when Jax, even though he's already said that there might be a ring that Kyle Chan is holding on ice for Brittany, he sits down, or you have this in your notes too. He sits down with Dawn.
Yeah.
He goes, Dawn, I've got something I have to tell you. And Dawn goes, oh God, what did you do? And he goes, I think, you know, the spark that your daughter has, you saw it every day of her life growing up. You know that Brittany spark. Well, Dawn, she's lost it out in LA.
It's fading.
It's fading. That beautiful spark. And he goes, huh? And he goes, she's depressed in
She's
LA.
overeating,
She's been
sleeping late.
There's just these little signs of depression.
Yeah, and he says that he's supporting her financially, which I don't really understand because they're both on the same show.
Jax is making 4 times as much as Brittany.
Sure, but like, what does financially supporting mean? They live in the same apartment. Like,
well, I mean, Brittany's probably making 16,000
per episode.
No, a season. Like she's making dog shit so far because she's not a full-time cast member.
Okay.
Like on season 4.
She's not?
Well, in season 4 she was, but she's making, you know, it's tiered. Jack's probably making, you know, $400,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he is. I mean, I'm not.
You think he
defending
made
him.
that much back then?
Yeah, we'd have to. I want to talk to Alex.
We
Baskin.
need a freaking Excel sheet with these numbers.
But no matter what, it's tiered. You know,
Sure.
it's tiered. Jax is now. This is if he just completed 5 seasons of filming. Brittany just completed maybe her second. Maybe the 5th season was her first time as a full-time cast member. She's not making very much at all. And there's a huge difference. So I think that if you're playing by the reality of what we're watching on screen and not taking fourth wall break into account, you could say, she's working at Sir.
I guess I'm
he's
just
working at Sir.
questioning that because he still says that shit in 2024.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
No, that's probably not true anymore. Brittany has made so much money from Vanderpump Rules now, and they're splitting the podcast. They're splitting Jax Studio City. So it's ridiculous of him to say that then. But if you're doing a real fourth wall break, Jax is making so much more than Brittany on Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah. And, he's like, I just want to make her happy. Her dad says, you can't make everything perfect. Like, there's always going to be struggles. And Jax says that's hard for him because, as we all know, he's a perfectionist.
Jax has to tell the truth to Dawn. And we've known this about Jax for a long time, but he's an absolute perfectionist. So enemy is what's the phrase? Perfect is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Dawn tries to get that through to Jax, but Jax is like, no, I'm absolutely a perfectionist. Dawn also does not notice that the spark is kind of dim within his daughter. And he goes, I think that you're just trying to use this as an excuse to possibly get out of marrying her.
Yeah.
Which, from Dawn's perspective, if he doesn't notice anything different about his daughter, that is what you would think Jax was doing.
Right.
And it might be what Jax is doing.
Right.
Allowing for a seed of doubt with all of Brittany's family to where if they do break up, he warned them that, hey, I said her spark was out. And if you guys didn't pull up Brittany by her bootstraps, I would not marry her.
Yeah. And spoiler, he has this conversation with many more people and is spreading like wildfire that her spark is fading.
With every prominent member of her family.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I'm sorry. I had so much coffee today. Can I do a certified?
Yeah. I think we're doing really good. We'll speed up, but yes, of course. We're back.
Hey, sorry. I had to piss.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I think some of our little turtle cuties will be accustomed to that.
So yeah, they meet up with. Well, first of all, they go through town to meet up with her brother, and we get a little Brittany background where they show photos of her in all of her pageants.
Yes.
And then they pass by. By the way, the town is the most like backlot looking town. Like, it looks like there's a couple restaurants.
Right.
Like, everything's very old timey.
Like a saloon.
Yeah. And they pass by a lawyer's office, and she's like, I've been there before. She said she got in trouble for egging houses.
Yeah.
And ended up at the lawyer's office.
Apparently she had a huge problem with egging houses throughout the town, and she finally got arrested.
Yeah, it was like pathological.
Everyone would have eggs smeared on their windows in the morning, and they'd be like, why did Brittany do this again?
That's why they had to use the store-bought eggs.
Because
Brittany threw all the chicken eggs.
It's like having alcohol in the house, not to undermine or make that a joke, but it's like having the thing that she loves the most next to her all the time. So they have to keep them locked away.
Lock and key. So yeah, they meet up with her brother, who this is where they introduce their infertility issues. Her brother says that Militia,
Yep.
her tubes are bad.
Yeah, she was diagnosed with tube bad syndrome, and they can't have. They had multiple miscarriages.
Oh, they said that.
Oh, I think so.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know. Well, okay, sorry. No, maybe they didn't. But they just they're having an issue with her tubes, and they want to use this opportunity to raise money, if they can, for in vitro, which
Yeah.
is around $20,000.
Yeah, 16 to 20. They are going to have sort of like a raffle auction fundraising event.
I think they said they had a miscarriage. I'm almost positive.
Okay,
I don't think that would be. Is that horrible if I said that wrong?
I think we're okay.
Okay.
They're having fertility issues.
They're having issues. Maybe it wasn't like that. Then we get to see where the real nightlife happens. Is that where you're at?
Sky Bar.
I go, we can't just go to Willie, or Jax won't just be happy at Willie's Sloppy Saloon every day. They go
Yeah.
to Sky Bar in
Yeah.
Lexington, which is, I don't know, probably 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
And
I think Zach is also here, but never speaks.
no, Zach is in the background, and this is her friend group, and Brittany is touting her friend group, which as one would. It's like have been my ride or die since I was in 3rd grade. I love them. They know me the best. I talk to them every day, and I'm never going to give up this friend group. And she also misses them, and she's homesick.
Yeah.
So she's having the time of her life. Jax, I liked when Jax said, he's like, he bought everyone a bottle at Sky Bar,
Oh, yeah.
and he just says that in LA a bottle would cost $600, and then he said that at Sky Bar they cost $150. So he's
Yeah.
like, go nuts, everyone! I'll
Bottles
buy
for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just funny to like still do bottle service there. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just like
Why?
I don't know.
No,
I'm
they're
just,
allowed
like,
to have that.
Bottle service is not my thing, so it's just like funny.
Why would you want it? It's just it makes you know you're at a club. It's a signifier of the club experience, but I don't know who the hell would ever do it.
It was like the place that they were at was like empty. So I was like, why do you need bottle service? I feel like the whole point of bottle service is when you're like in
Yeah.
the middle of a club and you don't want to like have to get up and like go to the bar.
Yeah. Have you talked about going to clubs?
I think we have a little bit.
Yeah. Have you done that bottle service?
Maybe a couple times. Like
Yeah.
I don't like liquor. Like I don't like drink liquor
Yeah.
really. And then like the club is generally not my thing either.
Yeah. I think I've only done it maybe twice or 3 times, been at a table where bottles were at, but I've never purchased a club bottle before in my life.
Yeah. It's a lot. But yeah, this is where Jack starts talking shit about all of her friends. He's like, 90% of her friends are divorced and have illegitimate kids.
Yeah.
And he's like, one thing I won't accept is a divorce. Like this is where he puts his, I think he's trying to say like, I don't want to get married unless we're in a really good place, because one thing I will not do is get divorced. And I
Yeah.
think this is when he's getting into it with like Kara.
Yes.
And this is where he tells them that Brittany is losing her spark. So that's number 2.
Yeah, he's telling it. Yeah, he says, her spark is completely gone to her friends. But do you think a little bit that they like everyone that's kind of putting like Jax like hates hypocrisy even though he's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of like them all telling him what to do,
Mhm.
and then but he's like, well, why the hell would I ever take advice from you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, I feel like the like traditionalism of it all is where it gets twisted, where, he's like, well, obviously like marriage, like rushing into marriage didn't work for you guys. So why are you questioning me? And I feel like they're more like, what are your intentions? As in like, they can smell that he's not a good guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
which he does immediately in the following season, like completely fuck her over.
Oh, yeah. So they get to hold that over his head for sure.
Yeah.
Kara and him, do have a little bit of a fight, but this Sky Bar kind of ends.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't really have a monumental thing that happens besides Kara yelling at him for a second, saying
Right.
that he doesn't have Brittany's best intentions at
Right.
heart or something.
And then they're like Jax and Brittany are helping her brother set up for this event, the fundraiser. Jax is judging all of her mom friends for drinking. And this is, interesting or relevant to today because this is where he goes, like, if you're going to have kids, like, would you give up partying if you're going to be a mom or whatever? And she goes, I sure would.
Yeah. He kind of, he made it known to Brittany that that's not something that he would enjoy. Right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, in his opinion, moms can't party.
Should we add the piece of evidence that you said Brittany said somewhere where someone in contemporary time said, Brittany, have you barfed at all since you and Jax have been separating? Brittany said not one string of barf has come out of her mouth since her and Jax broke up. Where did she say that at?
I think Sheena said that. Like, maybe she
Sheena?
told Sheena that, and Sheena said it on her podcast.
Sheena is so anti-Jax right now that who knows that game of telephone.
Right.
Because I don't, like, how far are you along on the theory that her barfing was psychosomatic because Jax treats her so bad that she has to barf in the morning?
I know.
Or is it quite possibly the gallbladder, stomach,
Yeah.
liquor issues?
I know. It's like, we've discussed, we see it here, we see it on their Mexico trip on season whatever that is, like 6 or whatever, where she literally has an ulcer. The doctor says you cannot drink, and she does anyways. And we just watched her get her boob job on season 4, and the first thing she says when she gets out of surgery on the way home is, I need a shot.
Yeah, for growing up with no drinking in her life, Brittany really got upgraded to liquor,
right?
and
That's what
loving.
happens.
Why? Because she's deprived of it. That's why you got to give kids little sips of beer.
Yeah, like Europe.
Yeah, in Europe,
like little bambinos drinking some red wine with their spaghetti.
Or you put a little Pabst Blue Ribbon splash in a thimble for a little kid to drink, and then when they go to their friend's house and the friend is got a secret case of Mike's Hard Lemonade, they're like, I've been drinking thimbles full of Pabst Blue Ribbon all my life. I don't care about this.
Yeah. Like those little chocolates that have liqueur in them.
Yeah. I get those from Trader Joe's every year for Christmas.
Oh, you do?
It's called the 12 Days of Drunken Chocolate. And it's what are those called? Those Advent calendars. Yeah. Each day.
That's fun.
Have you had one of those?
I haven't had the Advent calendar, but I remember eating/drinking those little chocolates when I was a child, thinking I was really getting away with something.
Yeah, you get drunk from them if you eat all the days. If you miss out on a week and you ate it, I'm going to get you one this year if you want
Thank you. So this is they're, I think, at the event at this point, and Jax and Sherry go to another room, and he tells her that Brittany's losing her spark.
He says, Sherry, I know we're having sort of a fun event for Wes and Militia to have a baby, but I got to tell you something about your daughter. She has fully lost her spark in every way.
She's
She's
sits
depressed.
on the couch all day after getting up at 1 p.m. and just eats.
And there is a very strong, not even very subtle, what's that called? Subtle accusation or implication that Jax might be unhappy with Brittany's weight.
Right.
And it becomes less subtextual.
Yeah, it comes up again and again. I feel like every time he brings up the spark thing, with each time, then her weight comes up. And her mom says that before she moved to LA, she was underweight.
Yeah. Sherry says so. And then Sherry does, I would say, give a little too much credence, though, to this, gaining weight thing. She doesn't push back or anything, you know? Not really in her daughter's court there on that one. No one is so taken aback that Jax is even broaching the subject of their daughter's weight. Right. He didn't do it to the dad. He knew better to do it in front of the dad.
Yeah. And then I think is Brittany at the same time or talking to her dad somewhere else? Yeah,
I think so. And this is, we're at the raffle party.
Yeah.
It's like a it's like to raise money. You get a raffle ticket, you buy 5 of them. If they pull your name, you get this gift basket of we saw it was bark thins, or there was a T-shirt that said "Welcome to Winchester," and then if you buy that with the raffle. But anyway, they're using this as an opportunity to talk to
Yeah.
Dawn and Cherry.
Yeah. So
independently.
then Brittany is saying to her dad that she hasn't been working out as much. And then he's like, as far as I know, in my memory, you are not a lazy girl. And she says she's not lazy. She likes to work. And so does Brittany love to work? I don't know.
Yeah. So I was saying this. No one loves not working as much as me.
Mhm.
And I would get away with it like a fox in a hen house if I didn't have to work.
Yeah.
So I don't, but I was trying to think, and this is like, is it so disparaging to say that someone doesn't want to work?
Yeah, that's a real
Is it-
American thing, I think.
Right.
And as someone who is heading to Europe and fully intend to siesta,
Yes.
and they take off like months of the year, which I completely agree with. We're slaves
Yes.
to labor.
We had to beg for Labor Day, the unions, which is coming up.
Yeah.
We had to say, please, Roosevelt, give us a day off.
Yeah.
And he goes, fine, but I love working. Don't
He's
you
like,
know what
"I got you
capitalism
I
is
got you
like?
the GI Bill. I got you whatever the fuck else
He
he
goes,
did.
but don't say capitalism didn't do anything for you. And he gave us Labor Day. But what I was going to say is that, with the caveat aside that I don't give a shit if people don't like to work, I don't know where to know what Brittany is doing work-wise in this era because I never saw her, besides working at SUR, which
Right.
Jack says later she works 2 days a week,
Yeah.
and being a reality TV cast member. So this is kind of like,
Sure.
you can't break the fourth wall.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, at one point he's like, you work 2 days a week. She goes, I've been working 4 or 5. And I'm like, there's no way at this late stage in the game she was working 5 days a week at SUR.
no, I mean, somewhere in the middle is the truth. So maybe 3. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, then they have the Mima's Beer Cheese Enterprise at one
That
point.
flopped ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about how, say what you will about them, but I would say Sheena and Lala are the biggest hustlers
Yeah.
as far as like making the most out of this short opportunity. They've always, like, Sheena's been fucking vlogging since day one.
Yeah.
And like Stassi had a podcast like a
Yeah.
million years ago. She was
Yeah.
like quite early on that, honestly.
Yeah. I would say hardest workers, if we really quickly ranked
Yeah.
Vanderpump Rules cast members, I'd say like you said, Sheena,
Yeah.
Lala, Stassi,
Yeah.
probably top 3.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where Sandoval comes into play because he does work hard, but it's not work. He
Right.
plays hard. Like he
Right.
cares about all of his
He
hobbies.
combines his work and his play.
Yeah. So
But he always has something going
you
on.
could call him a hard worker. And then you could say, just from past experience, I would say on the lower level, we got Katie,
Mhm.
Schwartz. Ariana's probably in the middle.
Only as of recently.
Yeah. Well, and we're only saying.
If it's recent, then she can be at the top. But if it was historically, it would be at the bottom.
And we don't know what secret businesses they all might have off camera.
Don't be afraid.
I am. Can I just say I'm afraid? No, it's just we're only using the context of Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah,
I'd say
we only
Schwartz
know what
and
we're
Katie-
shown.
Yeah, but you're right. Sheena, Lala, I'd say are the twin pillars of probably the biggest hustlers.
Yeah, and I feel like Stassi, ultimately, because of the books and stuff, has maybe made the most.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think she was a New York Times bestseller both times for both of her books. I mean, that you make a lot of money just doing that.
Yeah, and the tours, like she
yeah.
like sells out.
Yeah, Sussie's
Theaters.
killing it. Did you see? This will be good because it's contemporary. Andy, someone asked him,
Yeah.
and he was like, "They go, I heard you saw Stassi at
Something
something
About
about her. Did you use this opportunity to try to get her back in the fold?" He goes, "I won't say I didn't use this opportunity." He was like, "I love Stassi.
He said she looks like $1,000,000.
She looks amazing. I miss her in the Bravo world, and I will just say honestly that I did discuss." The
Yeah.
possibility of her coming back to us in the future. But he's
Yeah.
like, but I don't know what she'll do because her life seems pretty great right now.
I know. I'm like, just give her like a 6-part, like this 6-part, like family, like life after the thing. Like, just do a little sampler.
I say put her on the Valley.
But she wouldn't.
She will.
She hates it.
I think she will.
You know?
I think here's
that,
what can
that
I
show
say?
is a shit show.
Can
right
I say
now.
a theory? Well, she could. It doesn't have to be. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
She doesn't
That's-
have to participate.
The Valley could be what Stassi wants to make it. Everyone would flip their heads back when Stassi came on that show. It would be whatever Stassi wanted. Here's why I think Stassi would go back to the Valley. She said she actually likes it and actually watches it and says she wouldn't touch Vanderpump Rules with a 10-foot pole, but she actually gets joy from watching the Valley. And Bo wants to be back on reality television so bad. You can see it in his eyes. And he did that post that I think you showed me where it was like, guess who got their passport in 2 weeks? My little baby, whatever this baby's
Messer.
name is, Messer. So he was throwing shade at Jax and Brittany at a time when Jax and Brittany are hot in the world.
Yeah.
He's reigniting a feud that all of the Bravo fandom knows. I feel like that's his like
yeah.
a little.
Why don't they should have had him meet up at one of the guys' days.
They absolutely should. Stassi and Bo just go in the Valley. You can make that show your spinoff. You can make it whatever you want. Danny and Nia are going to go like, well, no offense to them, but I'm just saying like you kind of can shape the Valley early in its run and you already know it's kind of good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then we're at this fundraiser. This is where Jax takes the mic, and for a minute it seems as though Brittany is afraid that he's going to propose, which I'm like, can you imagine if you proposed at like the fertility fundraiser of her brother?
At Cartwright Designs.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, Brittany, I'm not doing that. He goes, everyone listen to me and look at me. I'm going to match whatever we get tonight in terms of money. I'm going to match it 100%.
Right, which it appears that he did regret not learning how much they had raised first, because they raised almost $12,000 themselves.
Yeah.
So then he had to double that.
Yeah, so if he was true to his word, he would have given them, they would have 24,000 more
Yeah.
than they even needed of in vitro.
Right. And he's like watching the numbers go up and he's like, oh God.
He starts to get really pissed.
Yeah. Then, okay, so we're entering episode 4 out of 6. And this is when they go to church, which honestly was my favorite part, I think, because it was the most like fish out of water scene.
Yeah.
And just like wild, because it's revealed that they go to what Sherry describes as a non-denominational, but akin to a Pentecostal church.
Yes. So
which I don't know why they call it non-denominational if it's clearly like
yeah.
a very specific type of Christianity.
They lost the Pentecostal license on this one, but they say it adheres to the norms of a Pentecostal church the most. This is where Amy and I will definitely, I think, we have to just be honest and say that if you're not raised in the Pentecostal church, this looks slightly shocking.
They gave it the kooky edit for sure. I mean,
I don't even know
and
if
by
they
that I
did.
mean just its reality was kooky.
I mean, how else do you edit it? I mean, it's just there.
Yeah.
They go in and they say so I think Pentecostal and our religious, Villa Rosa VIPs and Turtle Cuties can let us know if I think Pentecostal is the most like gifts of God church, where it's like we're very vocal and we scream. Famously, I think Sarah Palin's church was Pentecostal, if I remember correctly, and they kind of used it against her for a second. They were like, look at Sarah Palin's church, and they showed some guy that was just doing backflips through the alleyway of the church screaming at the top of his lungs, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's giving like Elvis in the tent, like revival,
and
speaking tongues.
And
like,
they want, this is like where it's going to come off very blasphemous. So if you are religious, I would skip forward probably 2 minutes if you're Pentecostal. But to me, this is the one where people are encouraged to scream and shout and jump around and dance and speak in tongues.
Yeah.
So this is the worst church to show Jax in the world.
Yeah, it's a rough start. Although he says that he grew up religious, he was like had confirmation.
Well,
It's not like he's never been to church before, but this was like wild.
No, I mean there's absolutely no comparison besides.
Of course, but I just mean he's not like I barely have been to church at all in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like I went a couple times with my grandma. She went to like a very chill church, like when she
Yeah.
would like be babysitting me, and then maybe I went like once or twice when I slept over at someone's house, and then we had to go in the morning.
Wow.
But it was always like SoCal chill, like
Yeah.
nothing terrifying.
I've been to church probably 1,000 times in my life, and never have I seen anything like,
Like
this
this.
in my life. And it's a different denomination.
Yeah, they do reveal that a couple months ago, Jackson Brittany went to church in LA, which I
Yes.
wish we had more footage of because that's interesting
I
to
think
me.
no, but they did show it. They do show the footage. They do show, and it's Jax wearing a different suit. And I
Yeah.
think that one was a little. I'll say my church experience was very calm.
Yeah,
No one would ever interrupt, and it's just they would say like we're gonna learn about Romans 8:13, and then the pastor would just give a practical application to
sure.
what that lesson was. This was like, to me, how it looked was that it was a bunch of people seeking attention
Yeah.
and wanting to scream at the top of their lungs, because it looked like the pastor went up there and he would say, God is good, and then the devil is trying to ruin your life. And now you have 30 minutes to scream and dance at the top of your lungs and speak in tongues if you want.
Did you like when that one woman came by to Brittany's family and she goes, sorry in advance for what happens if the Holy Ghost takes over?
A preemptive apology from Marianne saying specifically that the Holy Ghost is going to grab hold of her at some point. So apologies, Jax,
Yeah.
and everyone.
Yeah, everyone's getting fucking hype. People are like running around. There's what appears to be a teenage boy on the ground.
Yes.
He's speaking tongues.
Well, yeah, he's speaking tongues, and
Yeah, for lack of a better example, he's kind of going.
yes, and Jax. I mean,
This is the funniest part.
it's so funny and potentially very offensive if we have Pentecostal listeners, which I don't think we do. So that's why I said skip forward. But Jax's perspective, just watching Jax in this environment, is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, because he is going, "What's going on? What is that?"
That can't be normal.
He's going, "Why is that boy doing that? What's going on?"
Somebody needs to stop this guy. Somebody needs to shake him out of this.
And the kid he's on the ground, like rolling around on the ground, and then he gets up and he starts shrieking in an indecipherable language at the top of his lungs. And Jax later goes, I would have liked it better if I could have listened to the message that the
Right.
pastor was saying, because everyone's just
Yeah.
screaming. And it's not even just the boy's fault. There's another guy who has a American flag t-shirt and a suit on and a bouncing cross necklace, and he's just dancing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how annoyed I get when people are trying to do that kind of stuff in any environment. It's so annoying to me. I
Yeah.
would die in that church.
Yeah. Yeah. He said that it freaked him out. Mama asked him about how it was, and he's like, quite honestly, I would never go there again.
Yeah. He said, I
Um,
would never go there. He goes, that after in this confessional, he goes, that is an absolute no on that type of church for the rest of my life. And when Mima does ask, like, I couldn't even imagine what hearing the church that you've gone to every single like week of your life, someone saying, I would absolutely never go back to that church, how much that would like potentially hurt
Yeah.
your feelings.
I feel like Mama wasn't even necessarily down with that church. I feel like that was a Sherry selection.
I think so, and I think Brittany is trying to calm Jax down during when he's freaking out rightfully at what the hell is going on in this church. And even Brittany, I think, knowing that this is going to be on TV and seeing
Yeah.
it through that lens is like, God damn, Sherry, what? No offense, but what?
I know. It's like you'd think that they maybe would have like thought ahead to the
Yes.
edit of like that it's gonna be played as like cuckoo.
It was worst case scenario for all of them.
Yeah.
Like you just turned off Jax to religion for probably a long time based off how that church. And then Mima says something like, "Well, you don't need to go to that church. Just
Yeah.
as long as you go to any church." It's like you just showed him a huge representation of what church is like, and then you expect him to just choose a different one after
Yeah.
showing him the wildest one in the world.
Well, she said he does though need to find one to go to because he's gonna go somewhere, either heaven or the other place.
Yes.
And he says that he's definitely gonna go to heaven. He can probably grease the door guy or something like that. And I was saying, I mean, Jax literally looks like Satan. Like
Yes.
there's nowhere he's going except for hell.
Well, if heaven exists, Jax is going to heaven. But we can talk about that at another time. But I think Jax is definitely heaven bound,
Okay.
according to my religion, which
the turtle
is
time way.
the turtle time religion. Yeah,
Coming soon. to
Jax-
Patreon. The new
The
tier.
new tier, Amy and Riley's Little Saints.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the stinker tier, where little
Going to
stinkers who
hell?
pay $1. Yeah, who only pay $1. Oh, okay. So then what happens next if
They go hunting. Jax goes hunting with the men of the group.
They spray him with deer piss.
Yeah, they're wearing full-on ghillie suits, which seems unnecessary for what
Yeah.
they're doing. And it's revealed, very funny, that something I didn't think about. Jax is not allowed to fuck with firearms still because he's on parole for his sunglasses theft.
Yeah. So Don says, Jax, come over here and shoot this machine gun. And Jax says, I'm just going to look from over here because due to my arrest in Hawaii, I can't touch guns. And this is the first time he's telling Don that he got arrested for stealing sunglasses.
Nothing more humiliating than telling this man who's been judging your masculinity this whole time that you were arrested in Hawaii
Yeah.
for stealing sunglasses for no reason.
Right.
Like, humiliating. Also, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're hunting coyotes for some reason, which I assume they're like overrun in that area or something. And that's why they do it. But I was like, they're not even like hunting deer or like
No, I
like
think
what?
maybe the only thing you can hunt is coyotes because they're like eating all their chickens or something.
That's weird.
But then they blame it on Jax. So this is where I start to get really mad at Don. He goes, Jax was not whispering the whole time, so he completely flopped hunting. It's like you just wanted an excuse for why your hunting session on TV completely flopped, so you're blaming it on Jax.
Right. And then like meanwhile, the women are having lunch over beer cheese. And this is where her mom brings up the depression conversation that
Yeah.
Jax told her not to tell Brittany. And she upgrades Spark, lost your spark, to that he said you lost your sparkle.
Yep. And then Brittany says, Mom, I haven't entirely lost my little sparkle, but I am homesick a lot of the time
Yeah.
for beer cheese, for Mima, for you, and for my friends. So Jax might be kind of thinking that's depression. So she acknowledges that there is a little bit of homesickness there that maybe
Right.
Jax is picking up on.
Yeah, she's like, I just need to eat beer cheese with my mom. I don't need Xanax or Prozac or nothing like that. And I'm like, well, maybe go to therapy and see.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I hate that like dichotomy of being like, I just need down home beer cheese, not Prozac. I'm like, well,
Yeah, I was actually just thinking that I don't think Brittany, well, if she is, that's fine, but I was like not sure if Jax was just over emphasizing her depression as
Yeah.
an excuse. I mean,
yeah, she's just like hungover probably.
she's like, you guys are making a lot of money. You live in Los Angeles. You have a job at a bar. You're partying your ass off. You're eating Uber Eats every day because Jax lives like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're just having fun. And I think
Yeah.
that Jax is kind of shaming her for adapting to this new sort of convenient, party rich lifestyle in LA.
Yeah. Yeah. He took her from the clean air and the land and has her locked up in a Rapunzel tower eating Uber Eats.
Yes. But do you think, I think she's probably having fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
she would do it forever. He's just mad now.
yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Brittany, I think Brittany is enjoying her life.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles.
Yeah, she says later, she's like, if I was unhappy, I would leave.
Is this when they go to Two Keys Tavern?
Yes. And they do a review of the church out at the bar. And that's where Jax starts doing impressions of what he saw. He says he saw, I'm quoting Jax, a Hispanic man running around, and does an impression dancing. He goes, there was a demon child on the floor.
He goes, it was like that movie Rosemary. He goes, there's a demon child. And Brittany goes, stop, Jax. Don't tell him about that boy that we saw speaking in tongues that was rolling around on his back.
Do you think he's seen Rosemary's Baby?
I don't think so. I think he
No.
was thinking of like The Omen or, he was.
I bet he's seen The Nun.
Oh, you think he's seen The Nun? I would love to see if Jax, or I would love to watch Rosemary's Baby with Jax.
Yeah,
He might find it a little boring.
maybe.
I mean, I love
Or
Rosemary's
weird.
Baby, but
Yeah.
he might. Then they order this thing which I love. I've had before. It's called a fish bowl,
Yeah.
and it's just like a gallon of vodka and tequila with
Yeah.
maybe like a little bit of a mixer, and they put
It
20.
looks like it has like carousel because it was blue.
Yeah, I used to go to Howl at the Moon. Have you ever been
Oh
there?
my God. R.I.P.
Yeah, it's gone.
at City Walk.
I went with my wonderful friend Brock and Natalie, and I got a huge fish bowl with a
Oh.
bunch like 6 straws.
They also would do that thing where they would come around with like Jello shots and syringes and like would put them in your mouth.
Yeah, it is so cool. So they're all just like Jax gets really drunk because he's not
Yeah.
around Mima.
Also, this is where Brittany brings up the depression convo. It just keeps coming up. But instead of Spark or Sparkle, here she says that he said that she was losing her spunk.
Yeah. So no one can keep what Jax said or what they want to call what Brittany has lost.
Yeah.
Spark, Sparkle, or now Spunk.
Which I only equate with Sex in the City. They call Jizz Spunk on the episode where Samantha has sex with Bobby Cannavale and he has Funky Spunk.
Oh, wait, sorry. Who has sex? Carrie?
No.
Oh.
Samantha
and she eats it and it tastes
tastes
bad.
fucked up, and so
Damn.
she's trying to she
Make him
wants
eat
to make him
bananas.
yeah, and then she makes him taste his own spunk, and he agrees that it's like weird.
Damn. Well,
Funky spunk.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Bobby,
had to fill you in with what
Bobby,
was
I'm-
happening in my
Bobby,
mind.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, but I hope it got. Does it end up with it tasting a lot better for him and her?
I think she's like, I won't blow you again until you taste your own spunk, and then he
That's-
tastes it, and he's like, okay, I tasted it.
Damn. Well, we've all been there.
And then Brittany's ex is there, which I
Yes.
can't tell if it was fully staged. I assume it was, or if it's just such a small town that there's no way he wouldn't be there.
No, Kara called Aaron and
Yeah.
said, "Get over to Willie's right now. Brittany and Jax are here. You'll have the best scene of your life on television."
Yeah.
Aaron gets there and it's immediately awkward. Jax's energy is really odd because I think he's like 6 out of 10 drunk or 7 out of 10 drunk. He doesn't
Yeah.
know how to like act on
Yeah.
camera with an ex.
Yeah.
So first, Brittany has to go. She talks to him outside
Yeah.
first, right?
Yeah, he seems chill. Like
Yeah.
he's like a normal guy. And there's a little bit of lore here where she says that she was dating this guy, living with him.
Yeah, living with him.
Yeah. When she was in Vegas and met Jax. Then she basically came home immediately from Vegas and was like, I met somebody else, I'm moving out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yes, and then the nefarious read that some people say is that Sherry and Mima, or mostly Sherry, was such a Vanderpump Rules fan that the minute that Brittany saw Jax out, which she was with friends that knew who Jax was, so the minute that like Brittany talked about that she was in Vegas with Jax, Sherry was really pushing this relationship, being like, this is like the golden ticket,
Right.
To not to use a Willy Wonka term, but like this is the golden ticket. So like really hitch your star wagon to his star,
Right.
if you can. And that's why Sherry absolutely loves everything that Jax does because she's been watching him since season 1 of Vanderpump Rules. So she's basically like, Brittany, put up with his shit. Let him treat you like shit. He's always in the right. And that's why like she was just defers to Jax because she's a
Right.
fan first.
Sure.
That's
I
the
know.
nefarious read.
It's dark. I believe it though. I
Yeah.
don't trust that woman. And then so Jax comes out while they're having that conversation.
He kind of felt like he had to come out.
Yeah, because he had nothing to say.
No, he just goes, I don't want this to be awkward. Why would this be awkward?
I
It
don't
shouldn't
want
be awkward."
trouble.
And Aaron's just like, why would this be awkward?
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong. And Jax goes, I know. I'm going to just sit. Dude, if I sit, is that a big deal? If I get you a drink? And Brittany's like, yeah, get him a drink. Like,
Yeah.
there's no scene happening here.
Yeah. And you can tell Jax is like totally fucked up. And the drinks he brings out to everyone are shots,
Yep.
which I'm like, okay, just what you need. More shots. It seems like it went fine. She asks if he's jealous. And he's like, of course I'm jealous. It's your ex, like whatever, but it's okay. They talk again about the depression conversation. She says if she wasn't happy, she would leave, which
Yep.
is what she did with her ex. She was like, I wasn't happy with him. I left. If I wasn't happy here, I would leave, which I mean, I guess as of 2024, that is true, but
Yeah.
it took her a long time.
Yeah, he had to do a lot of stuff to get her to leave, but she
Yeah.
did eventually. I'm surprised he didn't tell Aaron that Brittany had lost her spark.
I know.
He should have been like, did Brittany have a spark when she was with you? Because I think it's dimming a little bit with me.
Seriously. So by the end of that's like the episode wraps out there and they're talking and it seems okay. Like nothing happened.
Yeah, it just ends with like a talk.
Sure. And so then the beginning of the next episode is that she's like, I can't believe what happened last night. Like Jax was wasted. And they show a clip of that exact conversation they're having, apparently like right after he starts like screaming at someone at the bar calling them white trash.
He goes, "Can you stop, white trash? Be gone."
I don't know if they were like recording him or something, giving them attention he didn't want.
Or
I'm not
bothering
sure.
them for being filmed. It just, I think like maybe a rowdy bargoer
Sure.
tried to get in Jax's face, or yeah, it was just being annoying.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I was thinking about, I think we've talked about it before, but how Danny McBride said he can't go to bars
Yeah.
anymore because people antagonize him.
Yeah, they
'Cause-
want to be. That's the kind of weird masculine shit that
Yeah.
happens that I think Don is playing into. It's like
Yeah.
this like alpha male mentality is so weird that a guy would be like they would almost like you'd probably like try to beat him up
like,
and
well,
stuff.
well,
to, like, prove,
well,
yeah, like,
Mr. Hollywood.
or how much can you drink like
Right.
over there? You're like it's just so lame.
Right. But Brittany said that he started to turn on her when she tried to stop him. He was yelling, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
He went nuts. He then apparently started yelling at her ex, even though things had been fine up until that point. And then, he apparently in the morning at first apologized, but then took it back. He threw his donation in her face.
Yeah.
Was like, "I gave your family $12,000. You're ungrateful." He said he didn't need to take crap from her sister.
Yeah.
Um,
Big fight.
he apparently has left in the morning, and she's recapping her sister.
He's saying like, look at all the things I do for you, and I think a lot of the subtext is, look at your fucking life before me.
Right.
What the hell are you complaining about?
Right.
There is a little bit of that.
Yeah. He comes back while they're having this conversation, and he has a coffee only for himself. She's like, "Oh, no coffees for us?" He's like, "Pff, you fucking wish. Like, why would I do that?" And he goes, she's like, "You went crazy last night. You're an old man. You don't need to be acting that way." And he goes, "You don't mind taking money from this old man?" So now I guess their entire argument has flipped into him taking this superiority stance because
Yeah.
he thinks
Get
he's
out of-
her sugar daddy.
Yeah. Get out of jail free card because he pays for everything, I guess.
Right. This is where she says that she works 4 to 5 days a week. He disagrees. He goes in his confessional, he goes, "In Kentucky, it's okay to be a housewife. In LA, everyone has to work."
Yeah.
Which is like a funny take because I feel like the actual
Yeah.
usual stereotype is that like women in LA like run around in yoga pants and like don't do shit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
But-
it's almost like you could say that we're more work averse.
Right. Like most people would be like, people in Kentucky work hard
Yeah.
and people in LA don't do shit.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. But
Yeah.
he knows the LA working class.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, what else was here?
She starts to get really upset. And he goes, "Don't put the waterworks on."
He says that multiple times. It's a recurring theme that he thinks that that Brittany tries to get out of a hard talk by crying to make him feel bad. And so he really, which is, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Shuts down her feelings all the time. And there's 2 examples in this. And then even in the Valley, he does that exact same thing. Don't turn on the
Yes.
waterworks.
Yeah. He storms off. She storms off. Meemaw comes to find him. He goes, "There are 12 million people in LA and I can be alone anytime I want. There are 7 people on this farm and I feel like I can never be alone," because it's just people constantly checking in.
Yeah.
Which I get is a lot. And he reveals to Meemaw he doesn't remember what the fuck happened last night, which is bold considering Meemaw hates drinking. So, but he's being honest, which is, I guess, endearing to her.
Yeah, she loves it. She's like, well, she loves Jax no matter what, even if he says I was blackout drunk and I don't remember fighting with your granddaughter. But Sherry and Mima do keep saying that alcohol is like the root of all your problems because that's perfect for their narrative of anti-alcohol
which-
stance.
If we're only looking at evidence of this week and honestly their future arguments, it's true.
Yeah, it is kind of true. Can we take one quick pause?
Sure.
I'm back.
We're back.
Thank you for tolerating that break.
Sure. So yeah, he's broing down with Meemaw. She says that it's harder for women to forgive, which I couldn't tell, if she gives men a pass or what, but ultimately it doesn't matter. She says there are chores to be done. He needs to get back to work.
Yeah, she says.
Yeah.
She says, hungover or not, the chickens still need to be pet. The horses still need to be ridden, and he can't just slack on his chores no matter how drunk he is. But the chores each morning do kind of get less and less as the days go on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they get drunk and party, and I don't
Yeah.
think Jax is like tolerating many chores.
Yeah. Then Jax and Meemaw go to lunch alone, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
They show him drinking out of the fishbowl because he tells her, I drank something called a fishbowl last night, and she's like, you didn't drink it all yourself, did you? And then they play clips of him essentially drinking it by himself.
He drank at least 3/4 of it
Yeah.
from those flashbacks.
Ugh, so sick. This is
You
where
wouldn't have one?
it's not really my thing.
Oh, I was gonna get us a fishbowl at Jax's Studio City.
Can it just be a big margarita?
Yes, of course it
Okay.
can.
This is where he brings up Brittany's weight gain. He says it
He says
out loud.
again. He says he keeps evolving his Brittany commentary.
Yeah.
It's now she's not only lost her spark,
Yeah.
but she's down in Los Angeles. She's depressed, and when she's depressed, she eats. How do I say this politely? But she's gained a little weight.
Right. And she goes, have you said that to her? And he's like, oh, I would never say it to her.
He says, no, but I got her a Peloton and a gym membership for Christmas. No, I'm
Right.
just kidding. Just a
Well,
gym
he does say he
membership.
got her a gym membership. And Mima goes, well, I think you've gained a little bit of weight since I last seen you. And he's like, what? Where? And she's like, in your midriff.
Yeah. I was just thinking the other day, do you remember when Shay at the roast he goes to Jax, he says, I'm not the fattest guy in the group anymore? Jax gets really
Oh,
sad.
shit.
Yeah. So what do you think about how Mima takes in that her granddaughter's boyfriend just said that her granddaughter's gaining weight in Los Angeles?
Right. I mean, yeah, she kind of just,
It's kind of, she doesn't react at all.
yeah, she gives it back to him a little bit, but not as much as maybe you would hope.
Yeah, I mean, besides Dawn, which I'll give him credit there, no one is
Sticking up for her.
sticking up for poor Brittany.
I know.
From her boyfriend spreading to anyone who will listen that she's losing her spark out in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And on the way out, he goes, man, you really think I gained weight? That hurts my ego. And she goes, I hurt Jax's ego. That's great. Which is funny.
Yeah.
And then Jax and Brittany are on 4-wheelers, like, riding through the mud. And she's saying how she's sad to leave because it's almost the end. And she's like, I just want you to apologize for last night. You were so crazy. And he goes, it takes 2 to tango, sweetheart.
Yeah. We also find out that Jax is colorblind, he says.
Oh, right.
So that's why he couldn't tell frogs in the water. He said green and blue or whatever. He couldn't even tell the difference between
I feel like that's like super common. With
colorblindness.
men. Yeah. I feel like I hear about it all the time.
Sometimes I say something's like green and my wife will be like, that's yellow. I'm like, no, it's
Oh, really?
not.
Interesting.
Are you okay? All right. I
don't
didn't know.
suffer from that, but I
Me
feel
neither.
like whenever I listen to men talk, I feel like a lot of times it comes up.
Oh, I see color so vibrantly, like pink, green.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then he
The-
goes, he's like really on his high horse. He goes, oh, and believe you me, there are going to be some changes when we get home to LA. No more of this. You're up at noon, no gym, not eating good.
Yep.
Like, why is he on this tangent all of a sudden?
And then she said, yes. Yeah.
And she
he's-
goes, I'm just following your lead.
and he goes, you're a big girl. Why don't you take the lead sometimes?
Yeah, and she says arrogance is his downfall. And then later that night, they're supposed to go to a little barbecue thing at her dad's house, and he just decides he doesn't want to go. He's in the bunk. This is where he says he wishes he had like a Farrah Fawcett poster on
Yeah.
the ceiling.
And Jax just says, I think point blank, or you're very point blank, very funny to me. He just says, I need a night off from Dawn. And like, I totally understand. If I was in Jax's shoes and Dawn was putting deer piss on me and making fun of me all the time, I would take a night off from Dawn too. He doesn't need to see him every single day of
Right.
this trip.
Which it's funny because then it's just Dawn and Brittany making hot dogs, and they just are each holding a hot dog, and they do a prayer before they eat their little hot dogs, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And she's lamenting to her dad that, Jax threw the donation in her face, and he goes, I am not fully on board with Jax Taylor. And she understands. She goes, with him, there's a lot of bad that comes with the good.
Yeah.
And she said that he needs to show her family more of the good.
Yeah. And you could say, like, morally, if St. Peter was judging Jax's behavior and determining heaven or hell for him, you could say that he is bad a lot of the times in terms of what he does. And then the only thing good that the dad can point to is an opportunity where he could just spend 12 grand to pay for his sins.
Right.
So it's like there's really no good morality that Don can point to unless you just say how charitable he is. But for Jax, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, like
Pay?
he's paid to be there anyways.
Yeah, he's paid to be there. So you just use a little bit of money and then you get a moral get out of jail free card for all of your bad behavior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like it's fine for Don to not see that as like a point for Jax very much.
Right. Okay, so we're cruising into the final episode where shit gets real.
Yes.
Jax is itching to get home.
His tolerance for Kentucky has been tested
Yeah.
by this point.
Um,
He's very irritable.
Yeah. They have him eating lamb testicles, which again, he said were good. Like, I feel like everything is just deep fried and like tastes good, but they're trying to act like it's like, you know, fish out of water, like gross stuff. And you're like, yeah, I mean, it looks fine.
All the food. At
Yeah.
Halls.
I mean,
Yeah.
all the food they're eating, it looks like every meal they eat is like Thanksgiving dinner. It's like there's like macaroni and cheese and like
Mashed
everything's just
potatoes.
like brown and it looks delicious.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I wasn't looking at the food a lot, but I would eat those lamb fries.
Yeah,
They're
that's
called-
what they call them.
I forget about. I've eaten alligator before.
Me too.
In Florida, they serve that to
Yeah,
us.
that's where I had it.
Really?
Yeah.
Where in
On
Florida?
the bayou. I went on one of those like airboat tours and then afterwards ate gator. This was when I was like 12.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, there used to be a restaurant in Sarasota that I would go to that just served alligator bites. I was like, damn, this
I mean,
is great.
it's, you know, as they say, tastes like chicken.
Yeah, and I feel good eating alligator. If they looked at me for 1 second and I fell in the water,
They'd
they would
eat you.
eat me. So
Yeah. I briefly, this doesn't jive with my vegetarianism, but I bought because it was so like funky.
oh, that's kind of on the cusp too for you, right?
Yeah,
Alligator.
that's true because I eat fish. Yeah. They had a back scratcher that was a gator claw on a stick.
Oh my god.
And I had it for like most of my life.
What
and I don't
happened?
know where it is now.
Oh,
But I mean,
ugh.
now I think it would gross me out, but I really thought it was like a fun oddity at the time.
Do you want a new one?
No. Please no.
Alligator, well, not to like get into alligator talk, but alligators are so weird.
I think they're cool.
Me too, but they're really weird. They're like
Yeah.
they're like yeah, they're like I mean, they're like kind of like dinosaur-esque, but
Yeah.
we kind of just take them for granted. It's like that's a kind of a weird creature.
For sure, with their little legs.
Jax is eating all the lamb fries. He says,
Yeah.
"Let's have
Mima
more."
describes herself as Jax's side chick, which is kind of fun.
Mima is so smitten with Jax. We kind of brushed through, but we talked about her overriding love. But like she hasn't danced in years, and she finally danced with Jax at the banquet hall. Like everything he can do no wrong. She's just
Right.
like sitting there beaming at him
Yeah.
every minute.
Yeah, she's very charmed by him.
Yes.
Jax has another sit down with her dad where he's just like, you know, like she really puts up with my shit. And he's like, well, that's good for you, but not for her. And this is where I don't know if he actually intended to do it this way, but it's not how it ultimately happens. He says that he would love to ask for Brittany's hand on a hill in Kentucky. And as we know, he asked her in Malibu.
Yeah. I've been to that place. Have you? That crab place is right on
Oh.
the PCH by
Yeah.
Malibu.
What's it called?
I forget what it's called, but I've been there multiple times.
Yeah.
It's nice. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I think I've been there.
And then Don, keeps saying, he's like, I'm not 100% on Jax, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So then after this dinner wraps up, all of the younger people stay at the bar afterwards. They do a round of shots. They're still kind of fighting. And he's like, does a shot and he goes, goodbye, Kentucky. Like he can't fucking wait to leave.
And then, so apparently Jax like yelled at Ashley at one of the drunken nights where we didn't get to see the footage. And Brittany begs Jax, doesn't beg, but asks Jax to apologize to Ashley. And he sweeps it under the rug. He doesn't want to apologize. He doesn't want to go back to anything he's done wrong.
Yeah.
Kara kind of does another like jab at him, little dig, which Kara does this entire series. And then it cuts to 12 hours later.
Yeah.
And they missed, it sounds like one of the wildest nights they could have ever had. Like it would probably eclipse a Vanderpump Rules scene
I
where it sounds like the
know.
most chaotic shit ever, right?
I know.
Screaming parking lot fight in a strip mall bar where Kara and Jax got into a fight. Like we learn the details
Yeah.
later, but well, I don't know if you want to wait. I
No.
mean,
Yeah. I mean, basically, yeah, it's the immediate thing we see is it says 12 hours later.
Yeah.
It's Brittany calling Jax. He's not answering. He's supposed to be there because on the last morning they're doing a dedication for her dead peepaw.
Yes.
They're putting up a memorial sign on the gazebo.
Yep.
Which I'm like, as far as like visiting your partner's family, shit like that is where you like fucking come correct.
Yeah, you wouldn't want them to remember in their family history that on the day of dedication for their dead grandfather that Jax was pissed because you got in a fight at
and like
Willie's.
showed up late because he was drunk and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's revealed, he's not answering. They reveal what had happened, and Brittany's like, yeah, apparently he stayed at a hotel last night.
So Tiffany said, here's what happened if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
They were drunk as hell. Tiffany, like Jax was talking about how he's been an angel or he's been really nice or good or something. Someone said Jax is being great or nice. And Tiffany, her older sister, said, well, he's not that nice.
Yeah.
And she probably meant it.
Yeah.
Immediately apologized. But then Jax went on a tirade because he will not tolerate anyone picking apart his behavior in Kentucky anymore after what he thinks he's done for them, which is Brittany gets to live in LA. He just gave $12,000 to Wes for their baby.
Yeah.
So he's so tired of people picking him apart. He's like, you can't judge me anymore.
Yeah.
So Tiffany got kind of the brunt of all of his ill will that he's had the entire this series of being in Kentucky, the trip.
Right. Yeah.
So-
they were all getting into Kara's car, and then he got out, and I guess Brittany didn't run after him. So then he was pissed. And
She said drive away
yes.
with Kara, and then Kara, he didn't get in the car, so she goes, you can leave him. And then Jax was just in Winchester drunk as hell alone, I'm sure he might have had a call production because they were
Right.
filming them.
Right. Or did he just like find the first motel and walk in?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the next day. Brittany is talking about what happened. He arrives in a local taxi. Like it wasn't even like a production van. It was literally like a
Nutter.
cab.
Yeah, it's called Nutter Taxi.
He comes up. He's still pissed. He's popping off about her sister. He's like,
He
what
goes-
I'm not going to have is her judging our relationship. Who does she think she is?
And Tiffany leaves immediately. Tiffany is very conflict averse.
Yeah.
The other fight they had, she also left Brittany just in the lurch when Jax and Brittany were fighting. She left immediately.
She's basically like, I'm not getting involved in all this.
She leaves. I mean, she doesn't even for 1 second like
No.
justify herself. She makes Brittany just kind of like fight it out with Jax.
Yeah. And then he's like, Kara's done. I never want to see her again, which is literally Brittany's best friend.
Yeah. Kara is on the outs with Jax after whatever she did, leaving him in the parking lot. This is when his elitism,
Yeah.
Jax's elitism / like calling everything in Brittany's life white trash. He cannot hold it back anymore.
He pops off. It's very entertaining.
If you enjoy Jax and you like watching him say horrific shit, then you will laugh so hard. Kara was saying how much better Brittany's life used to be before Jax used
Yeah.
to say.
He goes, oh, you think your life is better? Pff, I don't know what life you think what world you're living in.
Yeah. He was like, I'm sure you enjoy going to strip malls with bars in and with people with missing teeth.
Yeah,
He's
and
just like-
she's like crying. She's like, Brittany's like, you don't accept my friends or my family. Like, you just haven't even given them a chance. And he's like, yeah, and I ended up at that freaking hotel. He goes, I don't know what the hell hotel that was. I could have been killed in that hotel.
So it's like he's been biting his tongue for this entire trip, and then finally it's the last day. He knows he's getting out of there, so he's just going to say all of his true feelings. He could have been killed at this shitty
Which
hotel
honestly,
in Winchester.
the version of like Americana that they've shown is like not even, he wasn't in like the freaking like Appalachia. Like it was like small town America, but it wasn't like insane.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like anything outside of like the norm. I'm like, okay, you went to Applebee's and like a bar. Like it wasn't, I know the culture is different there, but it wasn't like holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
You know what I
alright.
mean?
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, it's yeah, for sure. But for me, just for me as laughing at a car wreck or whatever that kind of
Sure.
reviewer.
No, but
I
it's
just-
funny that he was so horrified when it was like on the scale, it was sort of like a mid-level
Yeah, yeah.
culture shock.
Yeah, I mean, if he was, I feel like even Crappy Lake.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but Crappy Lake was maybe even a step down in terms
Yeah.
of civilization than.
Yeah, they had even less going on in that town.
Yeah.
And then Brittany's upset. She's crying. He says again, "Here come the waterworks."
Which extremely, rude in
Meanwhile,
a fight.
her mom is sitting between them this whole time.
And Sherry is like listening to Brittany cry, and Jax is not apologizing. Jax is talking shit about Sherry's town. He already said that you have the worst religion in the world. And Sherry goes, Brittany, apologize to him. He's getting mad over there.
Yeah, she's like, "You always side with him." Meanwhile, the gazebo sign dedication is like any minute.
Yes.
They start to like, he's staying separate as if like, I know he's fighting with Brittany, but it's a little bit like, get your shit together. Like,
yeah, I only understood this as this is a family thing. He never met Peepaw.
but
like-
he's in town. Like, he's invited, so
Yeah.
like you have to fucking participate.
It was a dick move, and you
He
could tell.
stays like 5 feet behind, sitting on the steps, and they keep looking over, like, "Are you going to join us?" And he goes, "Do your thing. This is your thing. Has nothing to do with me."
Yeah, that's him.
Which is so rude. They're involving you in something that's like a big deal.
He's like, if Kentucky is going to treat me like this, then I'm going to take it out on Peepaw's dedication and make you deal with this memorial thing that I have nothing to do with. You guys have a scene over there because I've been berated all day by your family and by your daughter. So it's kind of like grudge holding behavior.
Yeah.
And awful if you're thinking about it in terms of like where Brittany will remember.
Right.
Like she'll remember that memorial for the rest of her life that Jax was just sitting on the stoop,
Yeah.
not looking at them while
Yeah.
Peepaw was. But to me, this is like so mean. But like to me, it's a little performative. All the stuff that they do for Jax, like the frog eating stuff, which I talked about 2 hours ago. Like you know that a part of them, like they want this dedication on camera, and like so you chastising Jax on this show that he's the star of, he's kind of just like, what are we really doing here? Like,
Sure,
why
but
do we have
he's
to
like
watch this?
BFF with Mima, and she's like crying, talking about her dead husband,
That's-
and that she'll never forget him. You would think he's like friends with her
That's-
personally
that's
at
when-
this point.
That's when Jax would be like, blame your daughter. Or blame your granddaughter.
Right.
You know what I mean? He'd be like, the reason why is because your granddaughter left me in a parking lot and almost got me killed at a hotel. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I don't.
just like I can't even imagine like to me when I'm in. I understand that's the reason why he's who he is, and it's so wonderful to watch. But like whenever
Yes.
I'm like with Jimmy's family, especially
Oh,
for
of
something
course.
like that,
Oh.
I'm like,
Oh.
you like bite your fucking
Oh,
tongue.
me too. Oh, I would never. I would.
I'm like
if-
wearing like something I would never normally wear. Like I'm like so.
I'm wearing
like,
Peepaw's face on my shirt, sitting there trying to see if I could put the plaque up. Totally. But Jax is a selfish man.
Right. Well, that's like later when
Aggrieved.
they're engaged and all the men come to town and they're like, "Are you going to take care of our girl?" And he goes, "I'm putting me first."
Yeah, you gotta. It's what's the analogy in the airplane? You gotta put
your mask on.
you gotta put your mask on first before you
Because
can
as
help
we know,
Brittany.
Jax just is such a people pleaser,
Ugh.
perfectionist. It's overwhelming.
Yes. So then, towards the end, so Jax doesn't give his all, I would say, to Peepaw's dedication. They go back and have a little bit of a fight.
Yeah.
Where Jax says, we've got to pack. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I took Kentucky.
Yeah, they're not getting on the same page. She's like, "I just want you to apologize." He's like, "I know, I'm always wrong. I'm always wrong." And she's like, "We're both wrong, but I say when I'm wrong and you never say when you're wrong." And he's like, "I just want to get the fuck out of here." And
He's at his wits' end. You could tell. Like, he's even giving nothing to Mima. Mima comes over and like puts her hand on his, and he's just kind of like, "Yeah, Mima, thanks so much." But he has nothing more to give Kentucky.
yeah. And so he's like, "Well, I'm going to go pack." She goes, "I think I'm going to stay a few more days." And he's like, "All right, fine, then I'll just go." Like
But
he doesn't even try to.
But it's kind of a test.
Right.
It's a test on Brittany's part. He's like, "Okay, I'm packing. I'm going. You're saying you're leaving too," and she's like, "You don't even care if I do stay." And he's like, "I'm just gonna pack." You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was a test on her part.
Yeah,
She,
and-
if he would have said even for 1 second, said, "Come on, Brittany,
Yeah.
let's go," but he didn't even give her that.
No, he like ran away. Brittany's mom takes him to the airport and he loads up his shit and she goes, "She's really not coming." And he's like, "No, I think it's for the best that she stays here." Like he also wants her to stay. He's like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go sit in the apartment and order Postmates by myself.
Yeah, so this spin-off, which is like showcasing Jax and Brittany and like meeting her family, ends with them having one of their worst,
Yeah.
I mean, knowing them, probably not one of their worst, but a very bad fight to where she has to stay. Like
Yeah.
they don't even leave together after this.
I know. Like I didn't know that the series ends with him flying home alone.
Yeah. So you would say a full success on Jax and Brittany's part for what they brought to our lives
yeah.
with this.
Yeah, it's wild that it went that poorly at that time. They still got engaged and they were still together for many more years. How many more years?
Yeah.
That was 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21,
Yeah.
22, 23, like 8 more years after this.
Makes you wonder what the hell Jax might have done in 2023 or 24.
Right.
Yeah, this was I mean, and they still, Brittany's got a rocky road ahead. She's still got the Faith era to deal
Oh
with
God.
after this.
Oh my God, she had so many warnings.
Yeah. But
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, she really she wanted this relationship to work.
sad.
And, yeah.
And they have to figure out what to do with that house, what to do. Hopefully they're done having kids.
Yeah. Well, let's end this Jax and Brittany retrospective. I mean, as we said, Jax and Brittany, it's not looking good. Jax is dating someone named Paige Uncaged. Brittany could be dating, who knows?
Yeah.
Doesn't look good for their future. And now Amy and I are going to see a glimpse into, how they're doing, because I'm going to try to get Amy to go to Jax's Studio City with me right now.
We'll see.
So good. And we'll let you know how that is when Amy's back from her trip. But we love you all so much. Thanks for taking this curveball from
Yeah.
us. But I think I had fun talking about this. I hope the
Yeah.
Villa Rosa VIPs and Little Turtle Cuties did as well.
I think it's a perfect summer viewing.
Yeah. And it ties in with this Jax and Brittany stuff that's going on. So it's still
Totally.
relevant.
Definitely.
Great. All right. Well, Amy is in Barcelona right now having the time of her life. And I'm probably, who the hell knows what I'm doing at this time of my life. Who the hell knows?
You're at Sir.
Probably it's Sir. Okay. We love you all so much. And we'll see you back next week with another pre-recorded episode.
Bye.
This one's for you.